Hi, this video is about terrorism in energy security. Our group members is Badrul, Rushda, Faris, Daniel, Shamala, and Wan ID.
Terrorists kill more than 15,000 people every year and cause devastation worldwide. Although terrorism does not have energy infrastructure as normal target, it destroys the energy security of a region by bombing its three main pillars: the national security, the economic security, and environmental security. As people start worrying about their protection, they change their lives. They stay more at home, not consuming, or even not going to work as they don't feel safe. All of this provokes a change in the energy demand, and even in the supply, which will also impact on the economy. As the economy suffers, the investment and investigation, development, and new technologies decrease, lowering the region's energy efficiency, promoting pollution. As the energy security becomes affected in every way because of this chain reaction, we have to go more in detail. So that's this work is about.
Hi, this is Shemala. I will be explaining about the social effects of terrorism on energy security. I will be explaining the social effects of terrorism on energy security in the form of a mind map. So, terrorism causes destruction whereby the loss of public and private properties happens. This destruction has caused two main impacts. First one is the disruption in the supply chain. Second one is the trauma from the loss of lives. A recent report by British Standard Institution revealed that most of the terrorist attacks aims to disrupt the supply chains. This disruption targeted a wider range of industries to disturb the routine lifestyle of people by blocking the energy supply they needed to live a living. For not so well improved countries, disrupting the supply chains also disrupt the food and necessities they needed to live a living. This can cause poverty in a country. The second impact is the trauma which happens from the terrorism. This has caused depression and fear among the people. The fear and depression has influenced their capacity to earn a living. Um, This situation might get worse when the sole breadwinner of a family is being lost in the tragedy. Also, this might impact the accessibility of people's education, which is in connection with the fear caused by the terrorism. People might be afraid to even go out and carry on with their daily routine. This would make them struggle to improve the standard of their life. Terrorism creates a prolonged fear in them which can disturb their freedom in their daily life.
Right now, we will move to the political aspect. Next is terrorism affects the governments. Terrorism may draw a society together and decrease the odds of a government acquiescing to terrorist demands. For example, the face of terrorist incidents, surplus coalitions with a low degree of ideology polarization are more likely to form. After that, terror events can produce a rally effect among political parties, leading to a more unified front across parties in opposition to terrorist demands. Terrorist sabotage of energy infrastructure pose a potential political risk to the security of energy supply, and while a stable, uninterrupted energy supply is a vital factor in the proper functioning of modern society, energy transmission infrastructures such as gas and oil pipelines, tankers at sea or electricity pylons and substations are virtually impossible to protect at all times.
In this session, I will explain on economic aspect. Without further ado, let's get started with the first question, which is why terrorist attack affect the economic growth. As all we know, terrorist attack affects the safety and peace of a nation. Therefore, the economic growth is important because the economic development cannot occur without the growth, and it may be not sustainable. This is related issue regarding terrorist attack. Most of them are agreed that terrorist attack affect their economic growth, limit the economic growth, especially country reliable 100% of their economic growth on energy sector. Moving on to the next slide, we look at the effects of terrorism on foreign direct investment. Terrorism raises instability and uncertainty in the world, which give foreign investors a lot of confidence, leading them to move their capital from the host company to other safer company. It also made foreign investors more preoccupied with their anticipated return from the investment. Furthermore, an unpredictable environment makes an investor deem it to an unproductive investment because prices security measure minimize FDI returns. In contrast, terrorism also damages local infrastructure such as highway, bridges, and telecommunications. It discourages foreign investment by increasing costs of doing business. Next, we also highlighting on the effect of terrorism on domestic investment. Domestic investment is an important channel through which terrorism affects the output of the growth. Like foreign investment, terrorism also decreases domestic investment because it is become difficult for domestic investor in a terror-stricken environment. Next, public investment is also seriously impaired as government projects such as road building, channel dams, bridges, hospitals are destroyed in the presence of terrorist activity. Moreover, terrorists severely damages investment in vulnerable sectors of economy such as tourism, which also contributes to the economic growth. Terrorist activity induces public expenditures on defense and security issues, which can crowd out public and private investment. Finally, on economic aspect, we are focusing on effects of terrorism on government spending. Terrorism increases government spending as the government needs to spend more on security matters in order to maintain law and regulation in the world. The reallocations of government resources lower the spending on advancements of social sector such as health and also education, and then it will slow down the economic growth of a country.
Assalamualaikum. I am Rushda and I will explain about the terrorism that will affect the environmental, that will affect the energy security in Malaysia. So this is the three main things that will happen to the environment if terrorism happen for the energy security, which is employment of hazardous chemical substances, traffic and transport, and also pipeline damage. So for the employment of hazardous chemical substances, the terrorism might employ harmful hazardous chemical substances to the target places. So they will attack to the place using a very harmful chemical substance such as cyanide, mustard gas, and chlorine. This will affect the rate of death in the targeted place and will increase the number of people that die in the place. So this connected to the energy security of the place of the country because when the number of people die, so the competent person to deal with the energy sources will be no longer available. So the second one is traffic and transport. So most of the target places for terrorism is in capital city. So when there is a messy and too much cars and fire and accidents happen on the main road, and there will be difficulties for the government to transport all the sources from one places to another places, which is this transportation called as virtual transportation of the energy resources. And lastly is pipeline damage. The target of terrorism is either to attack innocent people and also pull down the country's economic stability. So they will target mostly to the pipeline where the energy sources will be distributed from one places to another. So when they sabotage to the pipeline of the country, they will affect to the environment around the country, which is the CO2 emission will be high, so that the affected to energy security, which cannot the number of energy resources in the pipeline will be reduced. Also, the environment will be disrupted. So that's all for the environmental aspects. Thank you.
Lastly, we move to the conclusion.
As a conclusion, terrorism is indeed a serious threat against energy security since it can disrupt the production of energy flow of energy and economical structure of a country. Some of the examples of terrorism activities include taking control or destroying the energy affiliated sectors, kidnapping and stealing the energy resources itself. While the preventive measures against terrorism is quite difficult to implement, it is very advisable that the defense forces of a country is to be strengthened to counter terrorism.